Hey there, welcome to my channel, Messes with Michelle. If you're returning, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Michelle. In today's video, I'm sharing with you a couple of fall DIYs to kick off my fall series of videos for 2024. The first DIY, I'm going to be dehydrating some oranges to create a decorative vase for the fall season. And I also have a couple of artificial pumpkins that I wanted to repaint and refresh. So I'm going to be sharing that with you as well. So if you want to see how they turn out, or if you want to try these DIYs yourself, definitely keep on watching. To begin prepping, you're going to preheat your oven to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The process to dehydrate oranges is very low and slow, so that's why you're going to use a very low temperature on your oven. You'll also need a baking sheet lined with parchment paper to lay out the oranges. For this project, I'm using one seedless navel orange, and I'm using a serrated knife to slice very thin slices. I would say they're about a ½ inch thick. I have found that in this project, while I was dehydrating, the thinner the slice, the better. If you go too thick, it may take a little bit longer for your slices to dehydrate, or for my case, I had one slice that was a bit too thick and it didn't dehydrate like the rest of them. So the thinner, the better. After slicing the orange slices, I'm going to lay them out on a piece of paper towel, and then I'm going to place another piece of paper towel on top and just gently press. This is just to help take any excess juices out of the orange before popping them right into the oven. Now that I have the oranges prepped and ready to go into the oven, I'm going to pop them inside, and I'm going to set the timer for 1 hour and 30 minutes to start, just so this way I can keep an eye on the oranges to make sure that I don't burn them by mistake. So I did two 1 hour 30-minute intervals, so about 3 hours in total to bake my orange slices. So this is after the first 1 hour and 30 minutes, and you can see that they're slowly starting to dehydrate. And just to help them get it evenly dehydrated, I decided to flip them before setting the timer once again for 1 hour and 30 minutes. The cooking times will vary depending on your oven. I found that there was a few slices that started to dehydrate a lot quicker than the other slices, so I took those out of the oven. But you want to look for a nice golden orange burnt color on your oranges, and you also can feel the oranges to feel if they're dried out, because you don't want to have any moisture in them. So once they're a bit dried out and have this burnt orange color, they're ready to come out of the oven. Now that the oranges are dehydrated, now comes the fun part to start designing your vase. I'm using one small glass vessel that I picked up from the dollar store. I'm also incorporating some pine cones, some bay leaves, also some acorns, and also I wanted to have the scent of cinnamon, so I'm also incorporating cinnamon sticks. I wanted to have a very cozy fall feel for my vases, so I thought the cinnamon would be a perfect addition, and just the colors all together really reminded me of fall. But you can create whatever you'd like in your vase. I found that I was trying to keep it nice and neat at first when building the vase, but I just felt like just putting everything in the jar, trying to keep it neat and tidy but not perfect, was the best way of doing this. It's almost like you're creating a potpourri type of vase, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to see all the different elements in the vase all the way around. And here's the final product. This is a really great little project for the fall. For my next easy fall DIY, I'm going to paint and refresh these two artificial pumpkins. I had these pumpkins for a few years now, and I had a pink and gray theme back in 2020, but since that video, I haven't been able to really use these pumpkins because I've transitioned away from using these colors in my decor for fall. So to help give them a new lease on life, I picked up 2 bottles of paint to repaint the pumpkins. I'm using orange spice as my base, as well as I'm going to be using golden brown to make this pumpkin a little bit more rustic and to highlight some of the creases on the pumpkin. So this is super easy to do. I'm just using a regular paintbrush that's really nothing fancy. So I'm going to paint the entire pumpkin with the orange spice, and then I'm going to show you a dry brush technique that is great to give your pumpkin a more rustic feel. I chose a matte finish for my base color, but you can also use a satin finish, which I think will be great, especially when painting pumpkins, because naturally pumpkins have a bit of shine to the skin. So I think that will look great and give it more of a realistic look when you are using a satin finish. I've applied 2 full coats of orange spice paint as my base color on the pumpkin, and I've allowed the paint to totally dry. I'm using a dry brush technique to add the golden brown paint color to my pumpkin. I really wanted to have the pumpkin look like it just came out of the garden or the pumpkin patch. It had a little bit of dirt on top of it, but also make it look a little bit more rustic. So to help achieve this look, I just dab my paintbrush into the paint, but before applying the paint onto the pumpkin, I just dabbed a lot of the excess paint off onto the paper towel, as you see it that I'm doing here. So you basically want to take your brush and you want to have as little as possible paint on your brush, just to have nice wispy type of paint onto your pumpkin and be very light-handed as you're applying it. So just to bring out the creases inside the pumpkin, but not over saturating it to make it look like there's a lot of harsh lines on the pumpkin. Using the same dry brush technique, I dipped my paintbrush into the paint, dabbed it onto my paper towel, and as you can see here, as I'm painting on the golden brown paint, it's very light and I'm using very wispy strokes. And I also wanted to take away the harsh color of the orange and just kind of tone it down a bit. So I found taking a paper towel, dabbing it into the golden brown paint, then dabbing off any excess paint from the paper towel, and then start to rub it on and apply to my pumpkin. And that also kind of gave me the same technique that I used with my brush. And this way it just had a nice little bit of brown on top of the pumpkin and toned down the orange. Here's what the pumpkins look like before painting them. This project is so cost effective. It only cost a few dollars for the paint, and I already had the brushes to paint the pumpkins on hand. So very cost effective to really transform the pumpkins. And they look more rustic, they're more universal now, and I can definitely see myself using these in future decor for fall. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you try these DIYs out. And if you do, let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video when I upload next. Thanks for watching. Bye.